Hi, it's Olivia with Brighter Connections Counseling, and today I wanted to talk with you a bit about anxious thoughts. And I'm wondering if you have ever noticed that a lot of anxiety tends to deal with narrative or story that plays through the mind. I'm wondering if you have ever noticed a story for you personally that tends to play in situations or contexts that you find distressing or triggering when it comes to anxiety. Now, this is a really normal thing that our brains will do, that our minds will do, is we'll kind of come up with a story to make sense of what is happening to us, or a narrative. Our brains don't often like gaps or missing information, so sometimes we will make guesses, we'll fill in information, we'll make predictions about things, we might make assumptions about things, we're reading cues from different people, we're taking into account experiences that we've had in the past to fill in gaps. So some of that story might revolve around understanding how I fit in a certain situation, how I'm being perceived, what another person is thinking or feeling about me. Some of it might be accurate, some of it might not be, but it's kind of a story that we come up with where it's like, she's thinking this, I said this, and they responded that way, they feel this way about me, they're thinking this, they're going to say this, or they're going to do this now because of something that I did or said, or this is how this thing is going to go. And this is what's going to happen afterwards, so we'll make these predictions, we'll fill in the gaps, we'll kind of create a story about what we're experiencing. Now, of course, this is a normal thing that we do, anxiety or not, but when we're anxious, and I'm sure you are well aware of this, that story tends to quickly lead to overwhelm. One of the many reasons for this is that anxiety tends to overestimate threat or danger, a negative outcome, and it underestimates resources that you have, abilities that you have, skills that you have, things that you have going for you. So it pays more attention, or overestimates, it gives more weight to things that could potentially lead to a negative outcome, and doesn't quite give as much weight to the things that, maybe this is okay, or, the things that maybe might be positive or neutral about the situation. Now, you might even also notice that sometimes you can talk yourself out of an anxious situation or a thought spiral. Sometimes you might notice that, okay, I can rationalize my way out of this, or at least get to a point where I can move forward without being completely overwhelmed or in distress. But sometimes you can't, and sometimes it's like, it doesn't matter how much I try to talk myself out of it, that story is really sticking. And one of the reasons that is that when our brain's alarm system has picked up on some kind of a threat, a possible threat, or something that seems dangerous, it is going to send out signals to the rest of the brain and the body. It's going to send out chemicals and hormones into the body, and the frontal lobe starts to go offline, the one that deals with logic and reasoning, and we're basically wired to listen to that story because it is a survival response. It's a protective response, and as far as our body's defense system and alarm system is concerned, you need to listen to that story as a way to keep you safe, because it has identified whatever the trigger is, whatever the context was that made it feel like you were unsafe, psychologically unsafe, emotionally unsafe, physically unsafe, whatever the case is. So you're wired to listen to that story, and when you're in it, when you're in the middle of that situation and your alarm system has identified the threat, it's sent out the signals to the body has started to activate, your heart is pumping and pounding, you're breathing maybe really shallow and fast, you might be getting sweaty or upset stomach or tight muscles, or whatever the case is for you when you're in that situation. It is like, brain and body wise, it is hard to come out of that story because we're in the middle of it. and it feels really real. It feels, whatever that story is, it feels really true. So there's two things that I want to share with you that I hope can be some takeaways, hopefully helpful takeaways from this video. One is that feeling of real and that feeling of true doesn't mean real, and it doesn't mean true. So while in the moment it feels like this is real, this story is true, I have messed up, it's going to be a disaster, people are going to hate me, I'm never going to be able to recover from this, that feels very real in that moment. But feeling real when it comes to this story doesn't mean real, doesn't mean true. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing is that there are some tools that you can try to start to change your relationship to the story, where instead of being a character in the story where the story is real and is happening and you are living in real time in this story, you can start to take yourself out of it. So one of the ways that we can do this is through a cognitive behavioral technique called thought abstraction. So basically what this is you want to, one, start to notice the story. So you want to notice, like, catching yourself in that moment when you're having that spiral. What is a story playing through my mind? Well, the story is, and it's amazing, like, how detailed and in-depth these stories can get. I don't know if, you know, depending on what your situation is, if maybe you tend to worry about future events, or perhaps you have worries or anxiety around health, or around social anxiety. So kind of notice, what is the story that's playing in my head? Like, oh my goodness, I said this, and that person thought that was so weird, and it was really awkward. Maybe they felt like it was really awkward, and they're thinking this about me, and now they don't want to be around me, or they're never going to want to hang out again, or they think that I'm this kind of person, and now they're going to tell everyone else that I'm this kind of person, and those people won't want to hang out with me. So there you can already hear from what I'm saying right now, one, that it is a story, that is a narrative that I'm constructing about a situation, and two, that it feels really real. It might feel very real to me because I'm telling myself this, that it is true, this is what is happening, this is how these people are thinking, this is what they're going to do, and this is how I'm feeling about it. It's very real, it's very present. I'm a character in the story and I'm experiencing the story. But now that we've noticed it, we can start to pull ourselves out of it a bit by acknowledging, okay, instead of I am this, I'm having thoughts that these people found that interaction awkward. I'm having thoughts that these people are going to think about me in a certain way now. So there's a difference between I am weird or awkward and these people are going to think about me this way, versus I'm having thoughts that these people think that I'm awkward. I don't know, can you feel the difference there? See that my relationship to the thought has changed. You could take it a step further and be like, oh, I'm aware that I'm noticing that I'm having thoughts. I'm doing the thing, I'm doing the exercise that takes you out of it even a little bit even more, where you're not experiencing it in the moment. You're observing it and you're aware that you're observing it. So now instead of the character in the story, you're the reader. You're the observer of the story. And that way, in this way, the story isn't taking complete control and ownership over you. So I would love to see how that experience goes for you, if you're able to try it out this week and see if you can notice the story that's coming up for you especially when you're in it. What is the story that comes up when you're in that experience? And then see if you can change your relationship to the thought or the story by saying, I'm having thoughts that, whatever the story is, and then even a step further, hey, I'm aware that I'm having thoughts that X, Y, and Z. And I hope that will be helpful for you. as you are navigating this experience, this very difficult and challenging experience of anxiety.